Red carpet blast. Amelia Warner publicly criticizes Jamie Dornan. Amelia Warner is not a person who likes crowds. She chooses small rooms to chat, quiet corners of coffee shops to write songs and think about life. But this time, an unexpected invitation pulled her into the center of the lights, a big movie premiere, where Jamie Dornan was the main face. The movie finished, the audience filled the auditorium. Flashes continued. Musical instruments sounded. People started talking. Amelia wore a simple black dress, her hair loose, her eyes slightly worried. She didn't know what to do next. As for Jamie, she was used to the light, stepping onto the red carpet with a bright smile, calm and confident. Being noticed by the press, Jamie turned to greet Amelia, holding out her hand. "Hello, Amelia. Nice to meet you." Amelia replied, "Nice to meet you," but something in her heart was wrong, not because Jamie was there, but because he had made her feel inferior in the eyes of others before. After the exchange, everyone gradually left the room. Amelia quietly walked to the backstage, where the lights were dimmed, leaving only a few people standing around talking quietly. Jamie appeared there too, alone. She took a deep breath. That was when she decided, for the first time, she would speak up. Shadows in memory. Amelia remembered the times before, when she and Jamie had attended a charity event together. Jamie stood out. People talked a lot about him, his talent, his looks, his charm. And Amelia, she was a little quieter. He spoke to her, almost warmly. "What do you do here?" he asked, and for a moment it felt friendly. But then, in the beautiful light of the cameras and the laughter around her, she realized she was just a follower, a supporting role, a person who had lost the right to speak. At one point, Jamie said to the group, "Everyone knows I'm the leader here. I just have to do what I do." The remark sounded harmless, but to Amelia, it felt like an implicit judgment, playing a supporting role, not taking charge. She found herself silenced by his gaze, silenced by his warm but arrogant greeting. Then there was the rumor. Jamie had told others that Amelia was pretty good, but not right, for the lead role, though he hadn't said it to her directly. Amelia had heard it from a costume designer friend. She felt hurt, not because she'd been told, not right, but because he, the man she trusted, had not said it, but had chosen to be vague, to let her figure it out. In subsequent meetings, Jamie remained friendly but kept his distance. He smiled, but his eyes were a little cold when he talked about his project. And Amelia, she learned to be quiet. She wrote music, she created, she retreated. But she did not forget, reunited and decided. Today's premiere was the first time they had met at a major event in many years. While Jamie stood talking to reporters, Amelia stood near the door, clutching a small bag. He saw her, nodded politely, and turned away, as always. But this time, a different determination rose in her heart. She could not continue to be silent. When the small party began behind the theater, the lights dimmed. Soft music played. People laughed. Amelia saw Jamie talking with some of his colleagues. Laughter. She stepped forward, a little shaky but her eyes were determined. He looked up, looked at her, as if waiting for a greeting or a compliment. But she did not greet. Instead, she was silent for a second, then said loudly enough for a few people around her to hear. "Jamie, we need to talk." He looked at her, a little surprised. She continued, "You said, you just do what you do. You told other people I was good enough but not suitable. You let me know, not tell me. And you made me shut up." A moment of silence spread around them. The person they were talking to turned to look. Jamie stood still, her face expressionless. She felt everyone's eyes on her, but she didn't back down. You're talented, you have everything. But you're also a jerk, the way you treat people. The way you make people feel small, inadequate, secondary. She spoke more and more clearly. Not sulking, not resentful, just the truth she was determined to tell. Jamie forced a smile. Amelia, we're at a party, she interrupted. That doesn't make what I said wrong. A hush fell around her. Some looked away, others stared. Jamie glanced at the others and replied, I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. Amelia looked away for a moment, then back. An apology isn't enough. I want you to understand. I want you to know that your words and actions affect others, more than once. Jamie took a breath, her eyes flashing. What do you want from me? You listen. And change. The sound of change. After the party, Amelia left into the breezy Dutch night. She felt a sense of freedom. Not because Jamie had made a strong statement or apologized, but because she had said it. The sound of her words was like the music she had written, many tones, many low notes, and finally a clear note. Jamie stayed in the VIP room. He received a text message, "Thank you for speaking," from a close friend, but he remained silent. For the next week, the press did not mention Amelia's speech, because no reporter had caught the full picture. But internally, many of Jamie's colleagues knew. They looked at him a little differently, some thoughtful, some puzzled. Jamin noticed that later, when communicating with his team, he no longer took the initiative to say, I just do what I do. He started asking, what do you want to do? He began to pay attention to the women, the people standing outside the spotlight, listening. And he knew he was wrong, not in a public way, but in a self-reflection way. And Amelia? She went back to the studio. She wrote a new song. The first line was, "Speak up, don't let the silence silence you." She smiled when she heard the demo for the first time. Because she hadn't been silent. And because she believed her music would reach out to people who had been silenced and made outsiders. Aftermath and hope. Soon after, a small article appeared, Amelia Warner, startled by the red light, about her going from being the outsider, to speaking up. The article didn't name Jamie, but it alluded to a big star who had silenced her. She was asked, was this her first time speaking up? She just smiled, for the first time, and probably not the last time. Jamie read the article. He felt a little uncomfortable, not because the reporter was talking about him, but because he knew he was being called indirectly. He knew what he needed to do to avoid being called that again. He contacted Amelia, not to ask the reporter to say, you two made up, but to say, thank you for talking. I'll listen more. Amelia replied, that's a start. They wouldn't be working on the same project. At least not anytime soon. But there was another distance between them. Not silence, but recognition. Jamie, from there, learned that talent is not immune to being overlooked. And Amelia learned that silence is part of who you are, but speaking up is also strength. The story didn't end with a hug, or a new collaboration. It ended with the sound of a word spoken. And in that sound, there was hope that the chain of silence would be broken, not just between them, but for all those who had been diminished, told, not fit, silenced into being a sidekick. Echoes into the night. One night, Amelia sat on the balcony watching the city shimmer. In her ears, the wind blew through the upper floors. She closed her eyes, remembering Jamie's look, surprise, shame, maybe awakening. She wondered, has he really changed? Or is it just a word that makes him look like he's going to continue? But she knew, it wasn't her job anymore. Her job was to keep talking. Music was playing in the room. She recorded a new song. The lyrics were soft but decisive. Silence used to keep me outside the light, but I'll step in, tell the world, I'm no one's sidekick. And no one has the right to be silent when they see me shrink. There was an email notification. An invitation to a talk show about artist rights. She clicked, accept. She knew that her words today, though directed at one person, would pave the way for many others. And that made her feel better. And Jamie? He went home, opened the door. He sat in an empty room, lit only by a small desk lamp. He looked in the mirror. His face was the same, but his eyes were different. He asked himself, am I a bad person? He remembered saying, you just have to do what you do. He remembered the look in her eyes when she said, not appropriate. He knew that if he didn't change, if he didn't learn to respect, to listen, the bad person label would haunt him for much longer than many people thought.